I've got a moustache.
You've got a little bit. Just there.
Okay.
Yeah, welcome back. We are in the Motorist in Sherburn. Again, this is one of our favourite locations. If you can hear any really ridiculously loud revving, it's because just out there at the moment there is an American muscle car meetup going on. So we've got some pretty cool drop-top Chevys, V8 Mustangs. I mean, I prefer more the British classics.
Yeah. They're definitely compensated for something.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a nice Porsche out there, a little M3, and we are talking about watches in movies, but most importantly, our favourite watches in movies.
Rolex.
Amiga.
So, movies have a big impact on people. Everyone aspires to be like their favourite film stars, and one of the easiest ways you can emulate your favourite film star is by wearing the clothes that they wear, or potentially even wearing a watch that they wear in the film.
Brands, clothes brands, watch brands obviously, alcohol brands, they pay absolutely millions to appear in movies. You look at how much Amiga paid to be the watch of James Bond.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, Heineken must have, I think they paid high millions for Bond to sip a Heineken for 30 seconds in the latest film. So
even if you look at our Seamaster TikTok, there is so many comments on that one video about how people are inspired by Pierce Brosnan's Bond, but when it comes to Amiga, the Pierce Brosnan Seamaster Association is still really, really strong to this day.
it's not just Amiga, Rolex have dabbled in it, and Rolex kind of like to be loosely associated with films, and some films, which we'll come on to as well, don't want to be associated with at all, but close. American Psycho, Patrick Bateman, very based. But yeah, these watch brands, it makes sense, but also celebrities, they love watches as well. You know, when you're earning millions, one of the first things you buy is a nice watch. There's obviously some odd blips. The O.J. Simpson TV series with John Travolta,
right?
And
I've not seen it. I wasn't alive then. So
me neither. He actually wore a rubber strap Daytona, even though it only came out 40 years later.
Oh, like House of Gucci then.
What was that one with Ben Affleck? So it's a very interesting topic of conversation which we'll be coming on to see how watches from movies inspire everybody's personal collection.
Let's hear your first watch from one of your favourite films.
Yeah, I have my notes because I know you guys in the comments, if I make any mispronunciations, incorrect reference.
finger?
Yeah, you're wrong, so you aren't catching me out today.
Don't say that, because someone will definitely catch you out.
And actually, I've just said you won't catch me out, but the first topic of conversation and this watch, we actually don't know which watch it is.
Brilliant.
So my first choice is Layer Cake.
Welcome to the layer cake, son.
Great film. The art of being a good businessman is being a good middleman.
It's one of our favourite films.
Yeah, I watch it weekly.
Yeah, it's a great film.
Yeah.
But in this film, we see Daniel Craig plays the anonymous main character who is simply known as, in the book, he's known as X, but in the film he's called XXXX, not XXX.
Triple rated +1.
Triple rated +1.
He is handsome, yeah.
He is handsome, and Sienna Miller.
Oh yeah.
That's triple X +1. But anyway, Daniel Craig wears a Rolex in this film. Which Rolex exactly it is a conversation topic that will spiral. But
definitely an oyster case with an oyster bracelet.
Absolutely.
A vintage size case.
Yeah.
But it's vintage. Well, I suppose late 90s is vintage as well now.
So the watch, the film came out in 2004 and the film was shot in 2003. So there's a list of possibly 4 watches that it could be. First of all, it was a 16200 Rolex Datejust, 36mm, black dial, oyster bracelet.
I don't think it was that.
I think it's the second one.
Right.
It was a 15200 Oyster Date 34mm. Slightly smaller.
Yeah.
And a man of my own heart, 34mm, is the way to go.
Yeah.
Other option it could have been is a Rolex Explorer 114270, but I don't think it is.
I definitely think it's.
You can see the date, you can see the Cyclops, so I don't think it's an Explorer. Lots of people online think it's an Explorer, and all them people are wrong. And the other option that it could be, which is a complete stab in the dark, but is one of the Oyster,
yeah.
Oyster Perpetual Air King Precision 14000. But I don't think it's either of them last two. I genuinely believe that it's the 15200 Oyster Day 34 mil.
If any of you were involved in the making of the layer cake, then please let us know what it actually was.
And Daniel Craig, I know you are watching, and I'm an avid fan of What's on Watches. If you want to come on and discuss watches with us, feel free, just drop one of us a message and we'll fit you in our busy schedule. Pause the video. If you are enjoying the videos that Josh and I are bringing you, please remember to like and subscribe.
The audacity.
So, House of Gucci. A lot of people liked it. I think the majority of people disliked it.
I thought it was gash.
I went to watch it in the cinemas. I thought it was good. That's because I like poncy things, like expensive furniture, architecture.
Couldn't tell.
Yeah. So I like the film for the style. The storyline could have been better.
Yeah.
The watches were nice, but they weren't in line with the time periods, and they got a lot of flack for that. But one watch that I did really like was what Adam Driver wore, his character Maurizio, and that was a Jaeger LeCoultre Reverso. So the Reverso in question is a bit of a grey area. Even Hodinkee didn't state exactly which Reverso it was. So I'm just going to talk about the Reverso as a watch in general and why I think Maurizio's character wore it.
Grazie.
So the Jaeger LeCoultre Reverso, it's a really, really versatile piece, and I think that's why it's Maurizio's go-to. This guy, at the beginning of the film, was wearing suit trousers and t-shirts, jeans and t-shirts, and the watch still looked fantastic. It's that timeless design, similar case shape to a Cartier tank, and everybody knows how versatile that piece is. But later on in the film, he starts wearing bespoke suits, he starts going to much more elegant occasions where the formality really steps up, and the watch effortlessly goes with him in that journey. So the Reverso comes from a time where British Army officers loved polo.
You don't play polo, I take it?
Classic officer sport. But they loved polo and they needed watches that weren't going to get damaged. So Jaeger LeCoultre made the Reverso, and if you've ever handled one and had a play around, or even if you're just into watches, you'll know that on the Reverso, the dial, so the watch face, actually flips over within the case, so it's just a metal top that's left exposed. So when they were playing, they could still time keep, but if there was a mallet strike or the ball was to hit the wrist, then you'd have the metal side of the face. If it was a direct hit, I don't think it's surviving it. But a glancing blow, the watch would be protected, less scratched. It was a bit more of a sports watch for its time. The watch in the film wasn't a period correct piece, and I don't know why they had this oversight. I'm sure someone would have lent them one for the sake of being in the film, or even just getting a prop that was period correct. And it would set the tone of the film off brilliantly, because it's one of the first watches you see.
Probably, I'm going to say, the most iconic moment for a watch in a film, and I'm talking about the 6538 Rolex Submariner as worn by Sean Connery in Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger and Thunderball. But it's also...
It's generic for a reason.
It is generic for a reason. That moment, as I put here, when he's just planted all the C4 and he comes back in and he takes off his wetsuit, he's got his white dinner jacket underneath, he slips the rose through, he walks in. It's dreamy. Great cinema. And he walks into the bar, and he, back in the days where smoking was cool.
Yeah, it still is cool, don't let people tell you it's not.
That is not what's on Watch's advice for justice. But yeah, he puts a cigarette in his mouth, and then he gets his lighter out, and he's like that, and it cuts down, and you see the 6538 on that textile strap, which is about 4 mil too small.
Yeah.
And he looks at his watch and it counts down as the explosion. That was, for me, the first time I watched it and was like, wow, that is such a cool watch. Good luck trying to get one for sub 60k?
Pardon the pun.
Yes, sub 60k. So the 6538 Submariner is instantly recognisable.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it has an incredibly large crown. It's also known as the James Bond Submariner, but it's also known as the Big Crown Submariner. It had all of
a big crown Submariner, sorry.
A Big Crown Submariner, yeah. And it had all of the features that you'd want from a classic sub. It had the little red arrow at 12, the meters first, all these little details. It's such an immaculate watch. And these sort of watches, that Bond watch. Now I know some of you Tudor fans out there will say, well, it wasn't inspired on that. But let's face it, the 58, the Blackburn 58, which is probably their most iconic watch, best-selling watch, does take inspiration from the submariners of that period. And you may say, no, it was based on an old Tudor, but it wasn't based on an old Tudor because that old Tudor was based off that submariner. So it's based off that submariner, okay? That submariner started everything, and that is the reason why. I mean, I own a 58, and I wear it sometimes on a textile strap because I want to be Sean Connery. I was trying to choose which Bond watch to pick from, so I've cheated this, and I've sort of gone with 3.
Okay.
The Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
The original quartz Seamaster, making its first appearance in GoldenEye. Reference for you watch nerds, 2551.80. Now everybody associates James Bond with Omega, when in fact, you know, the truth of the matter is, Ian Fleming, the man himself who created James Bond.
He was an explorer, man.
Yes, he did. I've got it here. He wore a Rolex Explorer reference 1016. And in the books, it isn't directly referenced which Rolex that Bond wears. People think it's also an Explorer, similar to Fleming. Some people say it was an Oyster Perpetual. I think the Explorer sort of background based on Ian Fleming could be quite accurate. Out of all of these watches, there's one that stands out for me.
Hit me.
It's the Aquatona.
Oh yeah, great choice.
The Aquatona was worn by Daniel Craig, first in Skyfall, then in Spectre, and then in No Time to Die. And I can tragically admit, because he wore an Aquatona with a navy dial and then 3 films, my first Amiga was an Aquatona with a navy dial. I'm a Daniel Craig fanboy. Prop that out. It's a great watch. In the film, do you want to know what reference it was?
No, but they do.
In the Inspector and in No Time to Die, it was, prepare yourself, a 231.10.42.21.03.003.
That's what you do.
They missed the trick not having it with the 007, but that's, you know.
Yeah. One of my favourite films, and a popular film within the Sigma community. Okay, so Drive, Ryan Gosling, great film, really love it. He's a big fan of watches. He collects Rolex callbacks, he's worn them for, was it the Oscars he did La La Land?
Yeah.
When he collected his Oscar.
You can't wear them anymore.
Oh, what, brand affiliation?
Yeah, Tag Heuer.
Vintage Hoyas, very nice.
Vintage Heuer is better than modern Tag.
Modern Tag is not to my taste, but Tags aren't bad, they're good watches. Most of them.
It was a really nice one. It was early 2000s and it was gold cap in quartz. It was beautiful. Yeah.
In the film, his watch of choice, probably wasn't his decision, was a Patek Philippe, but it wasn't.
No, it was not.
It wasn't a real reference, and it wasn't based off any reference. It took some inspiration from here and there. We think it came from the idea of a Patek Philippe Calatrava. Whilst it's a very nice choice, it was a prop watch, it wasn't a real Patek, so...
It was also massive.
It was huge.
It was far too big for a Calatrava.
But there is loads of really cool scenes where he's strapping it onto his steering wheel so he can take times exactly. I think his rule is 5 minutes.
Something like that.
Yeah, 5 minutes, and then after that it's a case of he's off, he's on his own. But you see him strapping the watch to the steering wheel, it's pretty cool. The whole atmosphere of the film is brilliant. But they missed a trick. Why did he not have a chronograph watch? That's what I want to know.
Vintage Heuer.
Yeah, Vintage Heuer would have been perfect. We're literally sat in a room dedicated to racing. There's a picture of Fangio on the wall there, Maserati stickers everywhere. Like, all these boys and all their managers, everyone in the team were all wearing chronographs, a lot of them being Vintage Heuer.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. I don't know who passed this decision to have a Patek Philippe Calatrava, sort of, because it wasn't a Calatrava.
Yeah.
Whoever decided that was wrong. Clearly not a watch guy, probably just know Patek Philippe's a big name. And I don't know why Ryan Gosling didn't step in and be like, this is the wrong watch for the film. It really bugs me.
Yeah, I mean, the film itself is brilliant.
Yeah, great film,
You know, anything with Ryan Gosling in is to a point.
Oh, the new Barbie film.
Can't wait to get to the new outfit. But yeah, no, I completely agree. Vintage Heuer would have been perfect. I'm even going to say, similar sort of era, chronomatic, but Vintage Graham.
Yeah,
Something like that. Something with a chronograph.
Yeah.
Just would have made
Top time.
Top time, yeah.
Top
Top
time.
time. Every video would just talk about James Bond. You know, even what would have been better if he's a bubble back collector. I mean, I know it would have been very expensive for a getaway driver. Vintage Cosmograph. Similar to the one when we were down in London.
Yeah, check out our TikTok.
That Cosmograph would have been perfect.
Yeah. Whoever made Drive, great film, but he missed a trick on the watches, so take note.
It's not a Daniel Craig film, and it's not a Bond film, and it's also not a Rolex. But it is an Amiga.
Okay,
If
it's not Rolex, it's going to be Amiga.
Yeah, it's Amiga La Magique. Is that how you pronounce it? La Magique?
I'd say so, yeah.
Worn by a watch connoisseur, Al Pacino playing Tony Montana. in the 1983 crime gangster thriller Scarface.
Relax, take it easy.
Like every bloody watch we've covered in this video, there's obviously a conversation, was it a La Magique? It was a La Magique, and I'm guessing because, similar to what Al Pacino wore in The Godfather Part 2, he wore a Constellation pipeline in 14 carat solid gold bracelet, solid gold case, really nice watch. The La Magique came out in 1982, and the film came out in 1983. So, Al Pacino, a high point of his career, he was on the right trajectory, big Amiga fan, what is to stop him walking in and buying a La Magique in 82 and wearing it in the film?
That's right.
Only 261 La Magiques were ever made.
Didn't know that. I actually thought they were relatively mass produced. But how many limited editions did Amiga release?
Yeah, well, if it's anything like the Speedmaster, they'll still be making it today. The other interesting point, it was quartz.
Maybe at the time, standard
80s,
time,
yeah. So,
they've gone with quartz as well, if they're done right.
yeah, you have a solid gold quartz Amiga.
I do have a solid gold quartz Amiga, yeah, I do, yeah.
As if he's flexing a quartz Amiga on the TikTok. So it equipped with a quartz Amiga caliber, the 1357. It was actually very, very famous for just how thin it was, under 3mm. So a really nice, thin, dressy gold watch. La Magique is often referred to in the collectors community as the Phantom, as it has a transparent dial, and it gives the effect that the watch hands are floating over the wearer's skin. Great watch, legendary film, matches the character perfectly, his rise to being a cocaine drug lord, and then obviously his sad and unfortunate demise where he gets shot in the back with a shotgun. By a dwarf. The guy's a dwarf, isn't it? Is he a dwarf?
To be honest, mate, it's 2022, I don't really see why that's relevant.
Okay.
But one of my idols now, Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
The king of cool. He's wore Rolex Submariners. He really liked his Rolex Explorer. But the watch I'm going to talk about, or the watches should I say, are the watches featured in The Thomas Crown Affair. Great film.
Pierce Brosnan did it better.
Nah, he didn't. Anyway, two things I want to speak about. So early in the film, you actually see him pull out a Patek Philippe pocket watch, and this is believed to be a double-sided dial, which collectors just love. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. I love wristwatches. Pocket watches are cool. I just don't know much about them, to be honest. But the watch I want to speak about is Steve McQueen's Cartier. So in the film, not only do we see him dressed immaculately, just being all cool, just being Steve McQueen in general, but we see some glimpses of a Cartier Cintre reference 21612. So this Cintre is a little bit special because, unlike the ones we had in Europe, this specific reference was only available from the New York store. It was a perfect watch for Steve McQueen's character because it had that really nice curved shape, and again, super elegant, just like the character in the film.
Yeah.
It's the perfect matchup.
Do you know what other watch he wore in that film as well? A solid gold Jaeger LeCoultre Memovox.
Ah, the alarm watch.
Yes, we got, if you check out Quickfire Vintage, we got hands on with one of them. But yeah, he wears another one of them as well. It only makes a few brief appearances. The Cartier is the main talking point.
It's widely believed that this Cintre was produced to less than 1,000 models, and to find one in a good condition is really, really hard to do. Kind of makes the watch a little bit more special.
However, if you do want to source one,
we'll give it our damn best shot.
Absolutely.
Steve McQueen as a whole, he's worn some great watches throughout his career in film.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I had a bit of an inkling.
Yeah.
You with your Persol glasses that Steve McQueen was going to make an appearance. I didn't know which watch you were going to choose because he's an icon for pretty much every bloke out there.
The Great Escape was the first film I'd seen with him.
Absolutely. What watch did you wear in that film?
I don't know. I didn't look. I'm going to look at your notes. I don't know. I can't read that far away. I'm not an eagle.
Rolex Speed King. A bit of World War II history for you now. British soldiers, if they were ever captured, used to have their watches taken off them. But did you know that Rolex and the Red Cross used to actually send in Rolexes?
Nice, love that.
Yeah, Rolex used to give them free. Imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, so
I want to be captured. I want a free Rolex. So the other thing about Steve McQueen, while we're in a racing room,
whilst we got the sound of those obnoxious American cars in the car.
Yeah, absolutely. Which another Steve McQueen film, Bullet.
Yeah.
Awesome film, by the way.
Great film, yeah.
Really good film. But one of the films that he is probably most famous for.
Oh, look at that beautiful Porsche 911.
In the 1972 film Le Mans, obviously Steve McQueen wears the Hoya Monaco. Now, a lot of conversation topics around this point. People ask which Hoya Monaco reference it is. From my research and what I believe to be factually correct is the 113B Hoya Monaco. The 113B was the first Hoya Monaco that came out in 1969. We covered that in a previous video when we talked about the automatic chronograph race between the chronomatic group.
Sorry, look, all this watch talk's giving me goosebumps.
It's good, I'm glad it turns you on. And we talked about the race between chronomatic and El Primero. However, the film was shot in 1970 and the film came out in 1971. The caliber 12 Hoya Monaco came out in 1972, so it was definitely a 113B caliber 11 Monaco.
Nice.
There you go.
Honourable mentions.
Honourable mentions. For me, the watch that is being handsomely sported by my colleague here, the Amiga Speedmaster. List of films the Speedmaster has appeared in. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Oh, I didn't spot that.
Tom Hardy wore it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a little brief cameo there. Any film starring George Clooney.
Yeah.
It's his go-to, particularly Gravity, obviously. A lot of space films, a lot of Amiga Speedmasters. Yeah. Gravity, George Clooney wore one. Ryan Gosling again. He wore one in...
That's just made this instantly cooler.
Yeah, you have a Sigma-based watch.
That's a Sigma watch.
But in First Man, you obviously played Neil Armstrong, so he wore one in Apollo 13.
The world's getting awfully big in the window.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite Speedmaster films.
Yeah, Tom Hardy.
Saved Their Lives.
Tom Hanks, not Tom Hardy.
Yeah, so the Speedmaster in Apollo 13, at the time, their booster to slingshot them from the moon's orbit back to Earth.
I agree with Jerry.
It had to be exactly, I think it was 14 seconds, 13 seconds.
Yeah.
Basically, if they got this wrong, their trajectory would have been wrong and they'd have missed the planet Earth. They didn't have enough fuel after they'd used that in that burnout. So the Amiga Speedmaster saved their lives.
Absolutely, and that's why on the snooping it says on the white dial that I was once offered to buy
Such
one,
an idiot.
and I declined it because, well, I was about 18 at the time and £9,000 was going towards a house. But these are worth like 30 grand now. But it says on the dial, what can you do in 14 seconds? Any honourable mentions from yourself?
Yeah, so Pat Bateman's Rolex Datejust, or was it a Rolex Datejust?
Yeah, was it?
I believe when you actually do some digging, it was a Seiko model that had been modded to look like a Rolex Datejust.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a massive plane flying right next to us.
Just standard Watson watches. It's that helicopter from when we finished there today.
Nice.
Playing the PG's out there. What colour's your guy?
Yeah, so the Rolex Datejust in the film, we believe it to be a Seiko made to look like a Rolex Datejust, and that's because at the time the film was pretty shocking. People weren't used to seeing that kind of stuff on the cinema screen. It's child's play now. It actually looks, all the violence in it, the blood, things like that, actually looks kind of cheesy compared to modern standards. But back then, people were shocked with the film. And when Rolex found out the film was being made, and they were approached to say, can we use the watch in the film? Because it features so prominently in the books, they actually said no, they didn't want anything to do with it. So there's a famous scene where he's in bed with his two prostitutes. And she rolls over.
Don't touch the watch.
For his Oscar nominations, you can email us at info@watches.co.uk. But yeah, essentially, so in that film, he says don't touch the watch, whereas in the book it's don't touch the Rolex, and he mentions the Rolex, I think over 60 times in the book. So that's my honourable mention.
But yeah, I mean, the bicolour Datejust 36mm with the champagne dial, because of that film, even though he technically didn't wear one, but it was, they never really put like a huge focus on the watch.
No.
You see him posing doing that when he's being interviewed by the copper. That scene, my god, don't watch this film with your parents. Yeah, he wears one in that.
Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of mine and Tom's picks for our favourite watches within film.
If you have a favourite watch that we have not mentioned and you're sat there screaming at your phone or TV or whatever you have,
Giving us abuse on the internet.
yeah, and saying, you've not mentioned my favourite watch, this watch is really iconic, blah, blah, blah. On a serious note, thank you very much for watching. We really enjoy movies, we really enjoy watches in movies, and like I say, these take such huge inspiration into our own style. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.